slightly behind the schedule, but hey, for the minor amount of viewers that are there, hey, we're live. All right. We got a couple of little bits and pieces and tweaks. I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy sometimes, especially on all this stuff, although lately it's gotten smoother. And let's see what we got. Get that up. Uh-oh, did I lose you?
I'm here.
No. I've lost your image in my thing here. It's lost your image for some reason. Where did the image go? That's not good. That's not good at all. I had your video image playing. Now it's gone. That annoys me. Does it come back if I do that? It does. Okay, so that's a whole nother thing here. Let's try that and try that. As we try to work out the bugs here, folks. Welcome to, nope, it's still going to vanish. Still going to vanish. And actually, let's try that, no? And one more thing. Okay. All right, well, we're going to have to run with it with the bug in the system. So sorry for this. Maybe we'll be able to tweak it here and there as we go along through it. With all of that, let's get this show rolling. All right. Get it out of the way. All right, it is time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
Welcome to WP Plugins A to Z, episode 67, exploring the WordPress Galaxy with Jonathan Denwood of WP-Tonic, coming up next on WordPress Plugins from A to Z. WordPress, the king of content management systems, powering the web with over 80,000 plugins to choose from. How do you sort the junk from the gems? Welcome to WP Plugins A to Z, where we've been keeping the pulse of WordPress alive for over 16 incredible years. Join us every week for an unrehearsed, real talk breakdowns of the latest and greatest plugins, developer and community member interviews. Some weeks, Amber and I team up to dig in. Others, I'm flying solo, unpacking WordPress news, demoing a standout plugin, or sharing tips to power up your site. No scripts, no fluff, just the good stuff from A to Z. So plug in and let's get rolling. The vast, I had my mic. Nope, some of that got to be cut off. Anyway, we're heading off into the vast universe of the WordPress with a true thought leader who's been navigating its stars for over a decade. Jonathan Denwood, the founder of WP-Tonic, who joins us to share his insights on running boutique hosting company in 2025, the future of WordPress amidst the rise of AI, and the impact of Matt Mullenweg on the community. Plus, we'll dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of running a long-term WordPress podcast. Whether you're a plugin enthusiast or a WordPress professional, this episode is packed with cosmic wisdom for you won't want to miss. I probably should have practiced that. Welcome to the show, Jonathan. I greatly appreciate you here.
Oh, fantastic, John. The Big Daddy, it's great to be on your show and to have a chat with you, the Big Daddy of WordPress.
Well, we've got all kinds of wonderful things here. I thought maybe we'd start with one, of course, you're running WP-Tonic, which is a boutique hosting, which is pretty much what mine is at WP Pro A to Z. And Let's talk a little bit about the challenges of boutique. I am just stumbling all over the words. Boutique hosting. If I
Yeah,
slow down, that's what I should
yes.
do. Slow
Yeah,
down.
you never slow down, John. I
Yeah.
also struggle with my words as well. So, um, well, we're a boutique hosting provider, like you said. We specialise in membership, learning management systems, and community-focused websites. We just try and make it easier because we provide not only really great hosting, but we go over and really attempt to help the people that are hosting with us have a successful launch with their membership and community website. So we do a bit more than what most hosting providers will do. Plus, we've got some additional services. Plus, we provide a suite of tools, plugins, basically WordPress technology as part of the hosting package, that we provide the licenses, but we provide the support, and we've tested it all and we've made sure that it works great together.
Yeah, well, I was looking over all the stuff you had, and I found it rather fascinating and interesting about all the different components you have and the whole list of plugins you offer. And it looks like you have a bit of a specialty in learning systems.
Yeah, learning management systems, membership. I have a kind of controversial position when it comes to membership with WordPress. I wouldn't say this is 100% because that would be ridiculous, but I think for anybody that's planning to do more than one course and really attempting to build a real business in e-education or a real commitment, they really should look at utilizing a learning management plugin rather than a membership plugin. I think there's certain circumstances, like I say, if you're just doing one course or you're selling digital, physical products, where a membership plugin is okay. But I think in general, you're best to look at a learning management plugin.
Yeah, well, which learning management plugin do you learn? I've been studying and trying to figure out a good learning management program for the last several months because I've been considering adding courses to my stuff, but I just haven't been able to nail them down and test them. Which one is the one that you're using the most and why?
Well, it depends on the type of customer or organization that you're dealing with. If you're dealing with the single entrepreneur that is trying to build a membership business as a sideline, a side hustle, and hopes to turn that into a full-time business, I think there's clearly one leader that offers a tremendous value, especially the package that we offer, and that is Lifter LMS, because as part of our hosting package, we offer their Infinity bundle,
right,
which is around $1,400, and we offer that, and it's fully licensed.
Nice.
I think the truth of it is there's three main leaders in the WordPress space, to my opinion. That's Lifter LMS, that's LearnDash, and Tutor LMS. And we offer Lifter LMS and LearnDash because we don't offer everything. We have to make a decision, but they're the three clear leaders, and I think you could choose either of those three, and dependent on your particular circumstances and needs. But in general, all three of those would be great solutions, John.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'll dig down deeper into one of those three then as I'm preparing up this nightmare I'm trying to create.
Well, you need to host with us, don't you?
Oh, no. I can do that. I already have my own hosting. I've got, several servers of my own that I run, and I have, a couple of hundred clients that I manage. So yeah, it's kind of hard to jump hosting when you're already a hosting provider.
Yeah, obviously. I was only teasing, John.
I know. And then I just went all defensive on it. So, hey, it's all good. Adds to the fun of it. So you also...
What you should have said, John, is, oh no, I'm going to look at GoDaddy.
Yeah, there you go. I should have said, no, look at GoDaddy. No, better than that. We'll go to Bluehost.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of the others I ran into over the years. No, I started hosting back in 1999. So when I had some problems and I went, you know what? I need my own server. Started out for myself, grew it to a business. So at any rate, now you've also been, let's see, where did I go here? I had questions lined up for you. Well, we'll just run it up. So what are the challenges you do face with all the hosting environments and other options that other people out there have? Do you worry too much about all the competition, or just go, well, I've got my clients and I'm good?
Well, you've got to be competitive, but if we couldn't provide, we do not in any shape and form pretend that we're GoDaddy or Bluehost,
right,
or WP Engine or Liquid Web. We're a bespoke hosting company with a particular speciality. So we have a number of clients. Some are small, some are medium, some are very large companies. But they're all looking for expertise and knowledge in the e-learning, and they like WordPress because of the ownership and cost effectiveness of WordPress. But it's really more about owning the intellectual property and not relying on a SaaS-based platform. But they also are looking for a partner and somebody that clearly shows that they have knowledge in this particular niche. Yeah. I think the main thing that a lot of people struggle with us is they ask for advice, but they've already made their opinion, their choice in their heart. And there's so much choice in the WordPress space that you can get a bit engrossed in the right technology stack rather than concentrating on how you're going to market your membership website.
Right.
And actually get your, what I call, which I've taken from the world of Bootstrap SaaS, is a minimum viable course. You get a lot of people that approach us, John, that think that by building an enormous course, it's actually going to help them market it and really prove the value of their experience and knowledge. And it's totally understandable, John. But in my opinion, it's totally misguided, because really your first course should be like what I just said, a minimum viable course, and then get your first students in and learn what they are really looking for. There's many things that I presumed that people in my niche would be really excited about in our hosting packaging, and they've shown total indifference, and I've just spent a load of time finding the right service, adding it, white labeling it, and there was absolutely no interest. So I think a lot of people do the same. They think by build, I call it the kind of war and peace of courses. Right. Some mammoth course with, and I think, and a lot of people spend too much time on the color of a button and the position of their lesson grid and getting it pixel perfect. Right. Which, when you've proven that your course has got a real demand for it, I think then is the time to really delve into those particular issues. So that's the main thing that we really struggle. We've got better at it because you've got to be very diplomatic, but not being dictatorial, but really having clear pathways. And we have a white glove onboarding experience where when somebody buys one of our packages, they actually have a whiteboarding session with one of my success experts, and we actually find out what they're trying to achieve, John.
So then what you're saying here also is that you not only will host them, help them get into the system, but you'll help them build out and get their courses going to begin with.
Well, we configure everything of the when they tell us what they're trying to achieve, we can then advise them of what plugin stack technology, WordPress technology stack that would work for them. On our very extensive list, we don't install everything.
Yeah.
We just have different options and different, depending, because some people want a community focused website where they're looking to combine membership with BuddyBoss or Fluent Community. Others are not interested in community, they just want a membership.
Right.
So it really depends. Some are looking to do serious marketing automation, so we offer packages in that. Others are not at that stage, so it really depends on the individuals, what they're looking for. Yeah.
Excellent. So the other one I noticed here is you mentioned BuddyBoss. I think I touched on it a few years ago for a client that has long since moved on. But how do you find it works with integrations and creating a community using BuddyBoss?
It's a great tool for the right person at the right moment. I think it was the only realistic tool until a year ago, but now you've got Fluent Community.
You got what community? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Fluent Community.
Oh, Fluent Community.
Yeah. I think if you're starting out on this journey, I think Fluent Community is a better choice now than BuddyBoss. But if you already got a community that's growing on, let's say, Facebook groups or a Slack channel, or you've built something on Mighty Networks, I think BuddyBoss is a fantastic platform, but building a community is, plus a membership, is not a light-hearted endeavour. Also, it's a very similar situation, John, to what I said previous, is a lot of people think by offering a mobile app for Android or Apple, that will make their community more appealing. I totally disagree with that. I think the investment, most want a white labeled app. Normally, if you go to Mighty Networks, that will cost you between $20,000 to $30,000.
Right.
If you go to Circle, it's probably around $15,000 to $25,000. They're a little bit cheaper. That kind of investment for a white labeled, if you go to BuddyBoss, they will be able to do that initially for a couple of thousand, and then it's about $200 a month. So it's a much better investment, but I still wouldn't advise it for somebody starting, because I don't think it will help building the community and building a successful business at all. Actually, I think people get totally sucked into the whole business, and there's a lot of influencers online that give very misguided advice, shall we put it that way?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of unfortunate misguided advice out there, and we all do what we can with it. Thinking of misguided advice in the world, let's take a little change. Let's go dive into the future of WordPress and AI. And have you been embracing or using the AI tools, and how have you been using them?
Yeah, I use a lot of AI, John. I love it. I'm virtual right now, John. Yeah, I use a lot of AI, especially with SEO. I do to do my SEO research. There's a number of professional level tools. My main purpose in the company is marketing and client, our medium to larger client communication and management. I do spend a fair bit in dealing directly with smaller clients in the ticket support system, just to keep my hand in and keep a feeling about how things are going in the company. But no, I use a lot of AI. How is it going to affect? It is extremely difficult to determine what's going to happen. I think there's, in some ways, in the kind of short, medium to medium, and what do I mean by that? In 2 to 5 years' time, it could be quite radical. I say that, but I think on the lower end of the market, people that are really looking for a template, a starter website, whatever the term is, depending on what page builder which is your poison,
right?
Or you're looking for SaaS, you're that DIY person that's using Wix, Squarespace, or you're looking at WordPress. I think they're the main three things that a small business, a DIY individual that really hasn't got any budget, they're the three platforms they would look at. I really, apart from generating the text, I think that market was really served by starter websites already.
Right.
I think formatting the text and putting it in makes it a little bit more convenient. But I also think that type of customer was well served in a way in the last 4 or 5 years anyway, John.
Well, you're right there in that the starter website industry has been around for a while and been serving up instant click here, templates loaded, you got some temporary content and you tear it all out and put in your content, you're good to go. That's a lot of that aspect, the AI. That's not it's something I've sort of looked at recently. Because Elementor, of course, which has been my builder of choice for the last couple of years, and they're expanding it out. One of the things they did just recently is they put out their AI, I can't remember the name of it, but you put in your basic information and it spits out a full ready template of pages with the header, the footer, your graphics, a few of your graphics in place, your font color, your choice, your color theme and everything else, and then you just import it directly into your freshly installed Elementor, and boom, you're all set. You just start filling in your content. And I used that recently as an experiment, and it works surprisingly well to allow you to move forward at a bit faster. It saved me probably 5-10 hours of initial setup. All that setup of choosing the right fonts and getting everything tweaked, all the minor adjustments, because it did it in a very short order. The other thing is, you mentioned you use it for doing your SEO research, and people are using it for writing their content, though you can pretty much tell what a lot of content is that was written by AI when it appears.
Oh, I disagree with you there, John. I think that's a load of bull.
Really?
Bull,
I've been able to pick it out. Maybe it's just the way I write.
It depends on the tools you're using, and there's a particular individual that dominates SEO in the WordPress space, and they just got a copy farm and just hired an army of Indian and other writers, an army of them, and they just produced some of the worst content ever read. So I think a lot of people, especially if they're content writers and that's how they make their living, get a bit sniffy about it. And for very in-depth, specialized articles and white papers, you probably can, but that's my opinion. I think there's a lot of people getting very sniffy about it.
Well, yeah, you're probably right there. The other areas that I have found useful is one of my buddies here in town, he wrote a program called Descriptor that uses AI to go into your media library, and for your images that don't have titles and descriptions and stuff, you just click a button, it creates it based upon the image and some input you put into the plugin initially to describe what your site is going to be all about. And so far, I found it to be about 90% accurate, where it reads the image and gives you an excellent description of what the image is.
Yeah, I would be very careful using that, funny enough, because I think Google, I use a very expensive system that humanizes, because it produces, without this, it produces really good content. Because I just myself, I just don't ask it to write it. I give it I do the research, and I give it an outline, and I give it custom prompts, and then it churns it out, and then I edit it all. And it's filled with mistakes.
Well,
because a lot of the content it's basing the article on is out of date. So you do have to check it and edit it and customize it. And then after that process, it's reasonably pretty good, actually. But you've got to be very careful about the tags, the meta description, the titles, the image descriptions, because if Google senses that you're using AI, which is hilarious in a way, because they were one of the main developers of AI, they will penalize you quite heavily, John.
Oh, really? Okay. I wasn't fully aware of that. But at any rate, when it does kick out these descriptions, you do get a chance, you do get an opportunity to rewrite them and bring them, more humanized. The biggest thing it does, it saves you the initial time of trying to figure out a way to describe it.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I myself would never turn it on and say, yep, go ahead and put them all in there and not let me change them, because it's never going to do that. I don't think AI will ever be able to quite do that.
Well, when it can, I think we'll have other things to worry about, won't we?
We'll have to worry about AI taking over the world and deciding that humans are no longer of value to the planet. That's our big problem.
No, they love us. They find us very interesting pets, John.
Well, they'll put us in the Matrix and run us in their big giant battery to supply them with energy.
Be much more human. We're not very humane as a species anyway, John. I think this is pure projection, actually. Yeah. I think the AI gods are going to be much more humane and affectionate, and they just treat us as deluded little pets, basically.
There you go. We'll be their little pets, and they'll use us as they need us to do.
Well, no, they just have better morals than us, really, in general.
All right. Well, let's wander off. Now, you made mention in the things it's talking about Matt Mullenweg and what he's done in the last, give it 7 months now, when he started his battle with WP Engine, and what that's done to the community. I've actually, from my viewpoint, I've seen some tremendous improvements in the community as a whole, not the stuff all wrapped around the WordPress drama, but the community as a whole. I thought I've seen some really serious improvements and more people coming out and talking again that had seemed to have gotten lost. That's what I've seen from it. And you?
I mean, what do you mean by that, John? Can you give a specific?
Well, maybe it's just me becoming more involved in WordPress again, but I noticed people being a little more helping and promoting other businesses versus I got mine, I'm going to keep mine, versus that squirreling effect in the very beginning of WordPress. Like, I haven't been here since the very, very beginning, but I've been with WordPress since version 2.5. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, there was that feeling of helping someone, pushing, like, I was part of the first WordCamps here in Victoria back in the day when we had WordCamps. They were the WordCamp in Victoria was one of the first ones on the west coast of North America. And there were more people trying to help and promote. It's like promoting other people's businesses, pushing other people's business forward, not so much worrying about theirs, knowing while you help others, you're going to get helped along the way. It's just the way it works. But I've seen more of that optimism, and I've seen other things like he's listening on the show right now, Influence WP, creating the Influence WP community to change the way professionals can promote their stuff. Versus like I've been turfed from a couple of forums for making the big mistake of putting my own URL to an article I wrote to solve a problem.
You terrible person.
Yes,
John.
it was a very terrible.
How could you do that, John?
I know, but see, that's the thing is that started getting really bad, and it gave me a bad taste for a while. It was part of the reason why I sort of faded away.
You mean Otto didn't like you? There we go.
Well, I don't worry too much. I'm 60 years old now. I don't got to worry if people like me anymore. I'm an old man.
All right, there we go. You seem quite sharp to me, John. I think it's, I like all things WordPress, John, I think it's very contradictory, the situation. I think because of the growth of page builders, Animator initially, but now with my choice, which is Cadence WP, or Bricks, or there's a number of them. That's brought in a whole new crowd into WordPress, younger people. I think also a lot of people got disillusioned with the community and felt that they were being abused, and their work was being utilised as a free resource, and people just got burnt out and fed up with it, and they found other things to do or whatever. And that's been a constant story from the beginning of WordPress, but it's not unique to WordPress. These factors have been present in almost any open source project. But that's the other point. What is WordPress an open source project? I woke up about 7 years ago that it was a hybrid. It wasn't really an open source project. It was open source whenever Matt Mullenweg wanted it to be open source, when it suited his needs and his investors' needs. When it comes to the actual dotted line, yes, it's open source code, and that cannot be changed. Yeah. But utilising copyright and using various business structures, he personally designed a complex web of different connected non-profit and commercial companies that were designed to hide the reality of the situation from the bulk of people that are involved in WordPress, and to enable him to have kind of commercial control over an open source project. And what in public, when he made this statement that he was a benign dictator, I publicly published a blog that criticised his statement and his attitude, and I paid a high price for that blog because I became slightly untouchable, and certain sponsors wouldn't sponsor my podcast and whatever. Right. So it's been an ongoing contradiction, and when he entangled himself with, and in some ways did the impossible, make people feel sorry for, the founder of WP Engine, Jason. We're not a close personal friend, but I think we are pretty friendly, and he would take my emails and phone calls. He left WP Engine a long while ago. I think he might still have some equity in the business. I don't know. But this business is owned by a VC. Matt has managed the impossible. He's managed a lot of people to feel sorry for a VC managed company. It's quite amazing. But what it's also opened is the elaborate entanglement of the foundation, which should be a non-profit, and in my opinion was set up illegally. And I'm not a legal expert, but I have a couple of friends that have been or are corporate lawyers, and if he doesn't settle this matter with WP Engine and it gets into the public discovery process, I think the way that he set up the foundation, which in my opinion is illegal, he's going to get into a lot of hot water.
Yeah, highly possible. By the way, we lost your video, so something happened to your Pro Webcam app.
Oh, right. I've lost video. Right.
It's quite all right, man. And it was easily managed, but you may be right there. I haven't dug down as deep as you've just talked about. I've only stayed on the periphery of it and have paid attention to little bits and pieces. The little bits and pieces I have seen have been like, yeah, okay, this doesn't seem right. It's like the stunner to me was when he yanked people from the WP.org site, which I had always thought was owned and controlled by the charitable organization. And it turned out, no, it was his own private website. That was the big stunner to me. So,
well, I think that's when people realized how screwed up things were, how the reality didn't really match with the propaganda that him and the people that worked for him in Automatic, how utterly screwed up everything was. And it is a total mess of what Automatic owns, and good luck to them. You know, I would have thought having WordPress.com and having the founder of WordPress and also owning WooCommerce would be enough for you to be clearly a leader, that you wouldn't need to utilize these other methods of intimidation and dicey setups of foundations, in my opinion. I would have thought those three things, most of the competitors would literally cut their wrists to get hold of, but seemingly this isn't enough. And being that you got those three things, and you've also, through numerous rounds of private investment, actually got almost slightly below $1 billion of investment. I would have thought these factors would have encouraged you to be a leading contributor to the open source project, because I think one of the drivers is that Automatic itself hasn't been run very well as a commercial company. That these clear factors that would mean that most companies under reasonable management would have they would be the leader. You really wouldn't look at WP Engine or some of the other, they would still be there, but you would have a sizable amount of the hosting because you've got these clear leading factors.
Right.
Because of the inability to run Automatic in a way that I think you should, I think it's been one of the factors that led to all this, John. But who do I know? I might be wrong.
Well, it all comes down to, in the end, it always, any organization and company always comes down to its leadership, and what the leadership is doing for it is what's going to happen.
Well, I want to make it clear, I've never gone on Twitter. I won't call it X. I refuse to call it X. I never will call it X. So it's Twitter. I've never gone on Twitter and personally attacked Matt.
No.
I don't believe in it. I don't like this aspect of the WordPress community. I don't like. I do it a little. I use the hashtag drama, WordPress drama, and that because I do a monthly roundtable show, and for legitimacy, for intellectual legitimacy, I probably will cover certain stories that other podcasts won't cover. And I've got because I like a good discussion, basically. But I've had to pay a price for that.
Welcome to it.
But you know, I'm a big guy and I've been around a while, so I'm prepared to pay the price. So,
well, on that note, there, let's segue into the last component here, talking about running a long-term podcast in the WordPress professional space. Because your show is almost as old as mine. You know, because my show's been running now for 16 years, since 2011, or no, late 2010. I know the age of it by my youngest son was born when I started this show, and he's turning 16.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm always surprised by the quality of guests that I manage to get on the show. I've had some of the biggest people in tech, you know, Matt Mullenweg, Jason, and I've made some good friends through it. I've also lost friends. I've lost people that have been on the panel for a long period, and a couple of years ago, I had the WordPress mob after me, the righteous keyboard warriors of WordPress, accusing me of all sorts of things. And a couple of the panelists just dropped me, and a couple other people. But also quite a few people were very supportive. So it's a mixed bag. I got into it by accident. I had a co-host that said, "Why don't you do podcasting? I'm really into it myself." And he was my co-host for almost a year. He's long gone. We don't really talk to one another now. But I got into accident. Really, I do two podcasts. I do the WP-Tonic, that's really aimed at the professional market. And really, I get a few people host for me that are freelancers, power users. But my main business is on the DIY and the power user. And I've got another podcast called The Membership Machine Show, which is really aimed at my target audience.
Right.
I keep the WP-Tonic going because building relationships, and I get a little bit of sponsorship that covers the costs of it. That also helps me cover the costs of the other podcasts. But I like to keep it independent because, yeah, you know, but it's been interesting. It's because I tend to think, who cares what we say on, especially the round table show, John.
Right.
I tend to think, who the hell cares? It's only a small podcast with a very niche audience.
Right.
But I'm amazed how its ability to rub people up the wrong way.
Well, yeah, they can do that, and you'd be surprised. Like when I've brought myself back in and I've started interviewing people, I've started running into people that were listening to my show back in the day, and they were telling me how much they enjoyed it and how much it really helped them out in the beginning. Yeah. And so that's why I'm trying to bring this show back to what its roots were. Over the years, I've had two guest hosts. One is currently still, it's like, this is my every other week I do interview shows. And then on the opposite week, like next Monday, I do our regular podcast show, and my co-host is my daughter, who's on the show with me. And we bring, of course, plugins, news, information, talk about the things of the day, the other important stuff. these interviews, I'm hoping to get these interviews so that we can bring more perspectives and I can talk to more of the movers and the shakers and the people who don't get heard from in the WordPress community. That's one of my biggest things, is chasing people who don't get heard from.
Yeah, I just want to finish off that I'm still very supportive of WordPress.
Oh, yeah.
And I want the best for Matt. I think it is not good for WordPress if Automatic isn't in a good place.
No, you're right.
And I want them to have success on WordPress.com. I want them to be able to build the best alternative to Shopify using WooCommerce, but have it linked to an open source system that if somebody outgrows the hosted platform, they've got a clear way of more customization.
Yeah.
I want Automatic to be hugely successful, but I could not defend this very ugly and ill-advised setup of what the foundation owns and controls, and who actually controls the foundation, and what Automatic owns. And until some common sense prevails and it's clearly cleared out that the governance of the foundation is up to the standard that legally and morally a foundation should be managed, in my opinion. I've got to keep saying my opinion.
Yeah,
sorry, John.
That's quite all right. It's all my, everything that comes out of my mouth is my opinion.
It's definitely my opinion, John. Until this is really clarified, Automatic and Matt and Otto, whoever, they can do all the PR they like, but until they really clear the situation so it's totally up to the standards that I would expect, I think they're going to have a continuing problem, John.
Yeah, well, they quite very well could for some time. I'm hoping that it gets squared up in a decent way. I'm definitely still a supporter of WordPress. There's so much that can be done with it. You know, carrying back to our talk on AI, one of the things that I've been doing with it is using it to help me write plugins.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's a lot of good tools and advantages out there, and being able to do it in an open source environment where it's like, okay, well, I've got the base software. Now it's like, I need a solution. Well, we've got this solution here. Well, they want too much for it, but you know, I could build that. They can build it themselves for a solution, you know, or expand it or take it in a direction that nobody even thought of yet. So,
yeah, but it's a very diverse, you know, we are in a bubble here, John. Our viewership are very specialized. Group of individuals. The general end user WordPress, even though that I would classify as a lower power user, they wouldn't even know what we were talking about, and they don't care about what we're talking about, because all they're interested in is having a website that generates some leads and some money for their business.
But most of those have themselves a developer or someone that does the tech work that does interact with someone at our level to get ideas and information to move along. So there's the whole ecosystem from the company that just, you know, I don't care how you get it done, just get it done, you know, to the hardcore person who writes every line of code from scratch, and then everything in between.
Yeah.
So, and that's what WordPress offers. It offers everything from one end of the spectrum to the other. And the kerfluffle over the last 6 months has put a lot of it in jeopardy, though I don't think it's...
I think...
It's put it in jeopardy, but I don't think it is the end of the world, and I think it's going to settle out and smooth over time. And it'll change. The whole structure is already starting to change, and it will change. We just don't know what the end is going to be yet, because there's still a lot of unfinished things. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I think this is only my opinion, John, and I've said it before. I think what led to the kind of blowout and his decision at WordCamp US to go public with his problems with WP Engine, I actually think another factor was playing, and that factor is the way that Gutenberg was going.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of, a project, obviously refactoring code on a platform that's running 40 to 45% of all websites is an enormous technical thing to attempt. And so I don't want to be too critical, but I think the way the project had been managed, especially when it got into the fourth year, and the way they really didn't seem to be in. It's got better, funny enough, until obviously it's been put on the bit of the back burner to some extent.
Right.
But it was a project that was causing a lot of upset and a lot of, especially plugins, I think this, how it was managed and how it was going, kind of started a bad taste in the developer community that is there, but I might be totally wrong there, John.
No, it left a bad taste in my mouth for a while. I still don't use it unless I'm absolutely forced to, but there's so many other options that have been moved forward because of that choice.
Yeah.
So, and that's where we ended up. At any rate, I think we'll wrap it up here, Jonathan. And this is going to be a spot where, you can get an opportunity to share where people can find out more about you, your business, and all the other good things that happen.
Yes, well, go to the WP-Tonic.com website. We've got a special page where we've got some great special offers from our sponsors and a list of curated plugins that we utilize. So we tell you what their good and bad points are, and a number of services that would interest the power user and the WordPress professional. You can get all this by going over to WP-Tonic.com/deals, WP-Tonic.com/deals, and you find all the goodies there.
Excellent. All right. Well, what we're going to do here, we're going to play a little music to carry, or a little exit to carry us on out. Don't run away on me yet.
Reminders for the show. All show notes can be found at WP-Plugins-A-to-Z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A-to-Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to WP-Plugins-A-to-Z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also leave us a review on our Facebook page using WP-Plugins-A-to-Z.com/Facebook. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencasts and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Follow the show on Twitter at WP-Plugins-A-to-Z. John can also be reached at his website, johnoverall.com, or email him directly, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today.
I love that little bit at the end.
Yeah, that's fantastic, isn't it,
You
John?
know what's funny about that? Everyone's heard the story multiple times, but I still never tire of telling it. I got that just before I created my first show. My son, who's turning 18 in a couple of weeks, he was just over 2, almost 3, and I was testing all my equipment, and I just set it up. I'd hit play or hit record on my computer to record some testing on my microphone. He came over, grabbed the microphone, did that, and then walked away.
Yeah, natural broadcaster, John.
Yeah, well, and so I've immortalized him with my show. I've immortalized his 3-year-old self.
There we go, a natural.
So yeah, at any rate, we're still live out there. This is just a little post stream. Everything in between the intro and extra is the part that goes out on my regular podcast. The downloads.
It's a good job you said that, John, because I was just about to swear.
Yeah,
No,
not that I worry too
actually,
much
John.
about it. I haven't monetized anything. There was once a point you mentioned talking about getting sponsored for the show. I tried that once with my show, and the headaches the sponsors gave me, I just went, you know what? I'll just suck it up and take the hit on it and use it for use my show for other things besides trying to make money. I've not tried to make money on the show. I've never tried to monetize my YouTube channel. Nothing.
Oh, right. I'm a more commercial, but what I do, John, is I offer good one episode, but I try and look for annual sponsors, and I do them a good deal, and they pay up front. So they not but because otherwise you get exactly what you outlined.
Well, it wasn't so much my content. It was like some of them had demands that I didn't want to acquiesce to. I just went, no, that goes against who I am. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
I'm not. You're gonna have, if you want me to be a total digital whore, you're gonna have to pay me a lot more money.
Well, that's pretty much exactly the idea. Is you got to pay me a whole lot more money to do that. But no, I just went, I'll do it my way, and we'll see what can happen. I don't know if you've ever listened to my show before. My other co-host was Marcus Couch. He's out there still doing podcasts.
Yeah, what happened to him?
I haven't heard from him in a few years. Last time I heard, he was doing podcasts on basketball game podcasts.
All right.
So I know he's still around. Every once in a while, his name pops up, and I hear something about him, but I haven't heard from him in quite some time. Don't know where he's at in the world now, but he was loads of fun. He helped me elevate the show to a different level from where I was at the beginning.
All right, that's good. Yeah. Well, I don't say sorry to disappoint you, John. I don't listen to it every week, but I do still listen to your show, and it's one of the shows that got me into WordPress. So you've always got a special place in my heart, John.
Excellent. Well, glad to hear that. Yeah, I listen to your show from time to time. I try to listen to people's shows, but I have so many different things to listen to. It's like
I don't get upset that you don't listen to me, John. If I was you, I wouldn't listen to me.
No, I do like the round table from time to time. The guests. Sometimes I see your list of guests when you put it up on Twitters, and I go, oh, that one looks like it's worth listening to. The other thing is the biggest time I listen to the shows is I do all my work in the morning, and if I happen to catch somebody's like doing a show, it's like, oh, good, I got something to listen to, and then I'll remember to listen to it while I work.
Yeah, but I think we all want the best for WordPress, but Matt has not done himself any favors, has he?
No, unfortunately not. He's not done himself any favors with the actions over the last 6-7 months. These are worse than the actions. Having been around as long as I've been, I've seen the actions where he took on Thesis, and I can't remember the others.
Chris.
It's like I saw those. It's like, really? And those ones there faded away because they didn't go anywhere. This time he picked a fight with a big gorilla.
That's got endless money.
Yeah.
And endless money for lawyers.
That's what happened. He picked a fight with a big gorilla this time instead of somebody else. All the other fights he picked with were people that didn't have the ability to really fight back.
Yeah, which I don't. That's always been a problem for me with him. But, well, couple of the people he went after were jerks themselves, so that might be a factor as well.
That happens too, but there's still, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to wrap that, and we'll call it that for the end of the stream to YouTube, and don't run away on me here.
All right.
Goodbye, YouTube, and make sure you listen to it, folks, and like and